Ashutosh, good evening. Prabhati, good evening. Hello. Hello and welcome everyone. So, today we have to start a topic poverty. And poverty, there is always a probability to ask question, uh, whether it's tier 1, tier 2, as well as in your interview. Right. But most probably they are going to ask, means in interview, they are not going to ask a direct methodology until unless there is in news. Right. But means news in the sense, if it is in the current news, like Niti Ayog have made any remark, or sometimes even Supreme Court make on the remarks on this poverty and all these things, right? So if the means if it is in the news, then maybe the methodology can be asked. Otherwise, schemes related to the poverty, they are basically asked, right? So schemes I'm not going to discuss. Schemes are already in the course, right? You can read those schemes, poverty related schemes. You can find the details schemes. I'm not going to discuss those schemes. I'll discuss the principal part, means the conceptual part of the poverty. What is poverty, how it is estimated, all these things I am going to discuss. Phase 2 answer writing. Yes, I'll take that. Good evening, Indu. Answer writing will session I'll also take. Don't worry. For answer writing session, I'll take the answer writing session. Okay. So, huh, poverty. So, this is a relatively new topic in the study of subject of economics, right? So, study of subject of economics in that overall context, poverty is a relatively new thing to study. But poverty as an issue is one of the oldest issue for the policymakers. But for the economist, how to estimate the poverty, right? It is relatively a new topic. Relatively new topic means it emerged as a topic, or it is as a subject to study only in 19th century. Before that, there was a no such kind of proper study on the poverty. Fine. So poverty, whenever we have to define, it is defined as relative deprivation from basic requirements. Relative deprivation from basic requirements. Yes, Aniket, this is class for beginners. For everyone can join, right? Even the beginners can join, or those who are thinking to appear in the next year, they can join. Those already studied, they can also join, right? I'll address all the audience. Fine. Relative deprivation from basic requirements of human life. Basic requirements of human life, it is defined as a what? Poverty, right? Poverty is defined as relative deprivation from basic requirement of human life. So when we say basic requirement, right, the basic requirements, this definition and this specific word basic requirement, so this basic requirement is going to change as per the economic socio-economic level of particular country. Like developed countries, advanced developing countries, developing countries, least developed countries, right? So if you will see the basic requirements here, you will find that the basic requirement, for example, in the developed countries, access to higher education. Okay, access to higher education, better health facility, better public health expenditure, right? So these are the basic requirement for them. For those people, that is a basic requirement. What? To get the access of higher education, right? To have better health system in the country, social security in the country. Social security in the sense what? When the person is going to post 60 years, right, and his body is not able to do some kind of the physical work in order to earn the bread, like people who are working in the private sector, they do not have any kind of the pension, so they must have a social security in that sense. So that is a issue if you are not having an excess of that thing. So for them it is a basic requirement, right? They consider as a basic requirement. So those people who are not able to access the proper social security, they are not able to access the better health facilities, the higher quality health facilities, higher education, they will be considered as poor. If you will go to the advanced developed countries, advanced developing countries like South Korea, right? So South Korea is not considered as a properly developed country, but it is as a advanced developing countries. So here also, if you will see access to the education, right? Access to the education, more or less same kind of the problem you will find in the advanced developing countries also, right? But when you will go to the developing countries, right, so access to the proper education, right, access to the proper education, access to the health infrastructure, right, all these are kind of the basic requirement. Whereas when you will go to the least developed countries, maybe food and shelter is going to be the basic requirement. Fine. So the definition of poverty is contested in the sense that here there is no one basic kind of a definition which can basic kind of the thing which can define what are the basic requirement. That is why when we study the poverty, it is studied in two different way. One is absolute poverty and other is relative poverty. Right. Absolute poverty and relative poverty. Why absolute poverty and relative poverty? Absolute poverty means the most basic requirement of human life, that is what? Food. Right. Even human beings are even not able to access the food. Right. So those who are not able to access the food, for them we will, for those people who are not even able to access the basic requirement, that is food requirement, we will consider them as an what? Absolutely under the poverty, right? They are under the absolute poverty. Okay. Whereas when you will go for the relative poverty, right? Relative poverty, what relative poverty will do? Relative poverty is always going to check how much you have less, how much less you have in comparison to the others, right? So it is always considered as a relative poverty, means how relatively poor or rich you are in comparison to others. So that is the basic phenomenon of what? Relative poverty, right? So relative poverty is always going to calculate the poverty in comparison to the others. Whereas when we see the absolute poverty, like in India, if we are going to use this absolute poverty method, then what we will check? Let's check how many people are in India who still not able to fulfill their basic food requirement on daily basis, right? So we will count those people and we will say that these are the people under poverty, right? These people are under poverty. Whereas when we will go for the concept of relative poverty, right? So here, income income is going to be what? Basis. If suppose that a person in advanced developing country or in developing country need somewhere around, suppose that 30,000 is required in India in order to fulfill all basic requirement like food, shelter, basic education, basic health infrastructure. If you want to access all those things, a person need 30,000 rupees income. So those people who are below 30,000 rupees income, they will be considered as a poor. Whereas those people who are having 30,000 and above income, they will be considered as what? They will be considered as above the poverty. So in this way, we basically study the poverty. So this is just a kind of I'm just trying to give you the framework how we do study the poverty, right? So poverty, first of all, it is a relative deprivation from basic requirement of human life, right? Then when we have to focus on this definition, relative deprivation from basic requirement. So basic requirement can change according to the income status of a particular society, whether it's a developing society, developed society, least developed societies. For them basic requirements can be changed. So that is why this concept of poverty is a geography based phenomena. It's a kind of a geography based phenomena, maybe in particular geographical area like US, Canada, Germany, Britain. So in that area poverty is defined in different way when it is going to be defined in the African North African countries, right? African southern part of the African countries. So that is the extreme poverty there, right? So for example, sometimes north south, north south. So if you will see the globe, the most of the rich countries, they are in the northern hemisphere of the globe, and most of the least developing countries or poor countries, so they are in the southern part of the hemisphere. Maybe some exceptions will be there, but most of the poor countries, they are in the southern hemisphere of the world, whereas the most rich countries, they are in the northern hemisphere of the world. So south side dialogue, what is the basis of south south dialogue? Because south dialogue means, if you will see the continent like South American continent, African continent, Asian continent. So the southern hemisphere is covering all these continent, and most of the countries in that hemisphere and in these continents, they are facing similar kind of the developmental related issues. So that is why we have to cooperate with each other in order to solve our problem in the holistic manner. So that is why at international level there is the concept of south south cooperation, right? So poverty is a kind of a geographical phenomena. In that context we can say that. Okay, now come back to this, the study of the poverty. The study of poverty, I told you in the very beginning, it is a relatively new concept in the subject of economics. If you will compare with the other part of the economics, it is a relatively new thing, right? So poverty, uh, a relatively new concept. In fact, if you will see the study of a subject of economics, like when we study the subject of history, philosophy, right, we find the contribution of different part of the world, like Indian philosophy, right, Western philosophy. But when we study the subject of economics, right, only few recent contribution you will find in the subject of economics. Otherwise most of the contribution is coming from where? Most of the contribution is coming from which part? Most of the contribution is coming from, just give me a second. Yeah, sorry. So most of the contribution is coming from which part of the world? The Western part of the world. So Western countries, after industrial revolution, they started focusing on the economic development, and they confronted with the economic problems, and in order to solve the economic problems they started giving the theoretical things, and that become the study of subject of economics, right? So just give me a second, huh? Just give me a second. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Okay. So I was telling you the subject of economics started getting developing and get the initial contribution from Western countries only. So initial studies on this concept of poverty is done by whom? Westerners, right? But in the present way, if you'll see the present studies, most of the present studies is dominated by the developing world, but it starts in the Western countries only. And even in the 19th century, when this studies on poverty started there, right? Even at that time, means 100 years back, those countries where the study of poverty started, still in that time, means if you will go even back to that time, you will not find they are having a kind of problem of facing non availability of food, right? Non availability of food was not a issue there. Food was available, a proper standard of life is not there, and for that they consider as a poverty. So what I'm trying to make you understand is कि when the study of poverty was started, actually it was studied as a relative poverty only. So what they understood initially, what is poverty? That is today's relative poverty. Today we define poverty as an absolute poverty and a relative poverty. But when it was started only as a poverty, that is a relative poverty only, because for them availability of food was never an issue in the European countries, right? So in the European countries, especially in the countries like Britain, France, Italy, Germany, in those countries food was not like people are not dying because of the food, right? They are worried, they are in the problem in terms of standard of living, right? So that is why the initial study which was being first study, the proper systematic study was done by Max O Lawrence, right? So for Lawrence, he studied poverty, right? But actually he was studying what? Only relative poverty. He was studying only relative poverty, right? So first understand this, then we will go back again in the Indian context, and we will discuss the absolute poverty also. But first, relative poverty. In fact, uh, before proceeding with this relative poverty, initially India after independence, right? I told you about कि there are the two basic way to define poverty, that is absolute poverty and the relative poverty, right? And I told you under the absolute poverty, we will look how many people are not even able to get the basic requirement, that is food. So sometimes this absolute poverty is also known as head count method to estimate poverty. Head count method means count the number of people who are not able to get the money to fulfill their food requirement. So if you will see India from 1947 onwards, right? 1947 onwards till then 2007. Till then 2007, the focus of policymakers in this country was only on what? Absolute poverty. The impact of LPG reforms bring growth in India, and that growth have started giving higher income to the countrymen of India. Then the policy makers realize that only absolute poverty is not a challenge only for India. Now we have to focus on better distribution of that income in the country. In India, middle class starts rising. and it is well documented, not by only the government of India, because government of India documents are sometimes being considered as a biased because they are prepared by the government officials, so it is considered as a biased. But apart from government of India document, the documents presented by the World Bank in their reports, IMF, Asian Development Banks, OECD, all these started giving a kind of a positive report about rising middle class in India. So that is why our policymakers, not only just this absolute poverty, they started focusing towards the relative poverty, right? So in India, we started with focus on absolute poverty and gradually start moving towards the relative poverty. So this is why even in the Indian context, it is very important to understand the basic conceptuals of relative poverty. This is why I'm going to let you know about the Lorentz curve and Gini coefficient. Then I will move towards the Indian case. Right? Understood? Any doubt or question in your mind? If you have, please let me know. After that, I will move and I'll explain this Lorentz curve and Gini coefficient, which is based on Lorentz curve. Venkata Kiran sir, is 25% people or poor, which is showing in the Google. See, what Google is showing, I don't know why Google is showing 25% and how they come to that thing, right? Google is a search engine which is going to take the keywords which you have put in the search, and accordingly they are going to present the data, right? So their data is based on authentic and non-authentic sources. Number one, their data is also coming, what the search they are giving, maybe it is based on opinion or some non-verified results, right? So what Google is saying, you should not worry about that thing, you should not focus on that thing. First understand the concept, understand the methodology, right? Then check the Google result, and then automatically you will find that which result is relevant and authentic. Automatically you will find that. I mean, there is no need to cross check it. Once you start reading, automatically you will get an idea कि this is the kind of what authentic source or non-authentic source. Why? Because if it is an authentic source, so the people who are giving their views, opinion, and they are using authentic source, they will always provide you the reference point according to the World Bank report, according to the IMF report, OECD report, NSSO survey. So they always going to provide you the reference. With this reference, we are giving you this data, and those people, right, any Tom, Dick and Harry who is going to give this opinion, views, so you should not focus on those things, right? So a little bit kind of I'll request you, whenever you are going for any data, please go with the verified data. Otherwise internet or this social media, all these things, anybody can come there. It's like a public toilet, right? There is no kind of restriction, right? Even some public toilets are completely free, you can go there. Even some public toilets you have to pay for it, right? So this internet word, this social media word, right, electronic media word is right now, I will not say electronic media, because electronic media like the good newspapers, they will always present the report with verified people only, right? But especially the internet and the social media is a public toilet where anybody can go and release their pressure, right? Everybody know that it is not going to be verified. So please don't go for that kind of the thing. If you have any authentic source, let me know, I'll discuss with you. All right. No, you see, you need not to be sorry, right? If you appreciated my work, say thank you. Even just a smile is enough. Even thank you is not required. I'll not ask for the thank you and sorry. Just put in a smile on your face and just say that "Ki I realize, yes, right, that is sufficient. No need for sorry and thanks. Just the biggest smile you have given there, na, that is good. That is happiness for me. Okay, now let's come back to this Max O. Lawrence and let's define the relative poverty. As I told you, for them means the people in the West, food is not a issue. So income distribution was the issue for them. And Max O. Lawrence decided that like this, ki I am going to define how much people are under poverty. So he took this thing, ki I am going to define how many percentage of people under poverty or not. Right. So for this, for this, what he assumed, Lawrence said that ki, suppose if he started with suppose, okay, suppose if there is no poverty in our country, right? If no poverty is in our country, that means when this going to happen, nobody is poor. He is going to define poverty on the basis of what? Difference in income. Difference in the income is the main basis of what? Difference in the income is the main basis for poverty. And what we today understood it as a what? Relative poverty. For him, it is poverty. Right? For him, it is what? Poverty. And this poverty is because what? Difference of the income. If poverty is going to be zero, right? It is going to be what? Zero. Then there will be no difference, then there will be no difference in the income. That means everyone is getting the same income. Everyone is getting the same income. Fine. So he started with this presumption that everyone is going to be what? Everyone is going to have the same income. Right? So everyone is going to have a same income. Income and population. Right? Income and population. On y-axis, he took the income, and in x-axis, he took what? Population. So the thing is, if there is no poverty, that means absolute equality. Everyone is getting the same income. If absolute equality is there, and now we are going to understand in the percentage term, if I'll ask you distribution of income under the absolute equality situation. So there is an absolute equality, he presumed there is an absolute equality, and now population and distribution of income among that population. So 10% population is going to have how much income if there is an absolute equality? If there is an absolute equality, what do you think? Answer. No answer is coming. 10% population have 1% each. 10% population will have 1% income? How? 10% population will have how much income? 1% income, 5% income, 10% income, 20% income, or 100% income. If there is an absolute equality, everyone is getting the same income, then in that case, the 10% of the population is going to get how much? 1%, 5%, 10%, or 20%? Aniket has changed his answer from 1% to directly 10%. Venkata Kiran went with one more zero, 100%. How 100%? How it going to be 100%? 10% population is going to get 100% income. Please let me know what logic you have applied to get this 100% figure. Other people, please answer. Only two people have answered. 100% average. 100% average. What mathematics you are applying, my dear? See, there is an absolute equality. Each and every person is getting the same income. What income means? If it is going to happen in India, then each and everyone is going to have a same income. Adani, Ambani, Adnan Sami, anyone is going to have a same income, right? Anyone, doesn't matter. X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, everyone is having the same income, right? That means the 10% population is going to have how much? 10% population is going to have how much? 10% income. Okay, 10% population is going to have 10% income, whereas 20% population is going to have 20% income. Why? Because each and every section of a population is getting the same income. Why? Because we have presumed there is an absolute equality, and because of absolute equality will come only when the every person is having the same income. This is why the 10% population with the 10% income, 20% population is having 20% income, 30% population is also going to have how much? 30% income, 40% population is going to have 40% income, right? So if we will go by this way, and we have to draw what? A curve on this x-axis and y-axis. X-axis is representing the population, y-axis is representing the income. We will find a straight line. We are going to get a straight line bisecting these two axes, right? So we can say that this is what absolute equality line. Absolute equality line, because here the income is equally distributed among the all population. That is why it is what? Absolute equality line. So when there will be an absolute equality, right? When there will be an absolute equality, we are going to find a perpendicular, a kind of intersecting line at 45-degree x-axis and y-axis, which respectively presenting what? Distribution of population and distribution of income in the country, right? Absolute equality line. Now, if absolute equality is there, then there is no need to study the poverty. But that is an ideal condition. That is an ideal condition which do not exist in the reality. There is a huge distribution income differences among the population. Some people are getting good income, some people are getting less amount of the income. So this is going to be the ideal case. What ideal case? A perfect straight line between two axes. right? So this is going to be the ideal case. Now let's try to figure out the practical cases. For that, just give me a second. So this is an ideal case when there is a line. This line, absolute poverty, absolute equality line, will be there. Now, in order to assess the real time situation, what he did. So first of all, he called this line as what? Absolute poverty line. Absolute equality line. This line is what? Absolute equality line. Now he want to assess the real time situation and population and income, right? Population and income. So population and income. So practically what happens in general? Big population, right? A big population is having less amount of income and few rich people are there who are controlling the big amount of income of any country. In fact, every year this richest man on the earth, the list is being given by various magazines like Forbes and all, right? Top 100 billionaires. So if you will calculate the income of top 10 billionaires of the world, what you are going to find, almost 58% wealth of the world, having more than 6 billion population, which is about to reach 7 billion population. So 7 billion population of this planet, and out of that 7 billion population, 100 most rich people on this planet are having 58% approximate wealth of entire world. So 58% of entire world's wealth is held by only 100 people out of almost 7 billion population, right? So this shows how income is unequally distributed among the population, right? How income is unequally distributed in the population. So if we want to know in any country what is the poverty, that is inequality of income distribution in that country, right? So let's calculate how much population is getting how much income, right? So suppose here, country a we have studied country a, and we found that the 70% population, right? We are going to put the population who have less income first and high income later. So what we found, the 70% population which is having a less income, they are having only 30% of country's total income. Means rest of the 30% population, which is rich people, they are holding how much? 70% of the wealth of the country, right? Whereas country B, when we studied that country, what we found that 90% population is holding only how much? 10% income. Whereas remaining 10% population is holding how much? 90% wealth of that country. One more case, country C. When we sorry, when we studied this country, what we found that 60%, the less income population, is having 40% income, and the income of the population, the remaining 40% population, is holding how much? 60% income. Now, if we will try to draw a curve on this x axis and y axis, where we have taken the population and income on respectively x axis and y axis, if we will try to draw a curve with respect to A. So A country, 70% population, almost 70% population is having how much? 70% population is having 70% population is having 30% income, and 30% population is having 70% income. So this curve is going to be like this. Okay. Country B, 90% population have how much income? 10% income, and 10% population is having 90% income. Here we are taking first which population? The less income population, then we are going towards where? High income population. So again, this curve is going to be like this. Okay, for country B. Whereas when we will go for country C, what we will find that? We will find that 60% population having 40% income. So three different line we are able to see, and line C, this line C is nearer to what? Absolute equality line. Line C is nearer to what? Absolute equality line, whereas line B is most far away from equality, right? Far away from the equality, whereas line C is the nearest towards the equality, right? So on the basis of these lines and this percentage figure, we can say that country C is having less poverty in comparison to country B and country A. Again, for country B, we can say that country B is the poorest country among all these three, because the income distribution is worst in comparison to the rest of two countries, right? So in that way, we can find, with the relative income distribution, we can assess in the comparative way, right? In the comparative way, we can find the country C is having much fairer distribution of income among their population, and country B is having what? Country B is having the problematic way of income distribution. So country B came into the picture, limelight. Ki this country is having lot of poverty, and country's government has taken this thing as a challenge, and they started doing certain measures in order to provide better income distribution among the population, right? They started making an effort in order to provide better income distribution among their population. What measures they have taken, we will take it later. But government of country B, they have taken certain measures in order to remove this acute poverty and this income distribution in this country. So they have improved, and now this diagram reached here. This line reached here, right? So they move towards where? They move towards perfect equality line. So these curved lines are showing how the level of poverty in that country, right? So this is why all these lines, they are basically known as Lorentz curve. They are known as Lorentz curve. What Lorentz curve shows? Lorentz curve shows relative income distribution among the population of a country. How income is being distributed among the population. And one more thing, if Lorentz curve is shifting away, Lorentz curve is shifting away from equality line, that means poverty is on rise. If Lorentz curve is moving towards equality line, we can say that what? Poverty is decreasing, right? I'll make one more diagram so that it will be little bit, because here a lot of Lorentz curve. So Lorentz curve is reflecting what? How the income distribution is equally distributing the income there, or how the income is unequally distributed among the population. If Lorentz curve is like this, means it is moving away from where? It is moving away from equality line. That means poverty is increasing. Whereas if Lorentz curve start moving towards where? Lorentz curve is moving towards perfect equality line. Poverty is decreasing, right? And if Lorentz curve is going to be on this line, means all the income is going to only 1% of the population. Rest of the 99% of population is not getting any income. So this is why it is perfect inequality line. Perfect equality line, perfect distribution, everyone is getting the same income. So this is what this is, perfect equality, right? This is perfect equality. Whereas this line showing the perfect inequality means all the income is going to 1% population or one person only. So this is what perfect inequality, and in between Lorentz curve is moving, right? So we can say that if Lorentz curve is shifting upwards, it shows decrease in poverty and better distribution of income among population, right? If Lorentz curve is shifting away from shifting away or better shifting downwards, poverty is increasing and income distribution is unequal and inequality is rising. Inequality is rising. So shifting away of Lorentz curve is showing what shifting away means, inequality is rising. Shifting towards means upwards, it is showing what? It is showing equality is rising. Right. So in this way, we can find out whether the distribution of income is being getting better or not performing better, or it is getting poorer, right? So in that way we can estimate the poverty in terms of what? Poverty in terms of income distribution. सर इस क्लास की पीडीएफ कहाँ पे मिलेगी? टेलीग्राम चैनल में? टेलीग्राम चैनल, I'll send the telegram channel, no issues. I'll send this pdf on the telegram channel. Tell me one thing, you people do not sit with the copy and pen like, or just watching what I am explaining, not with the copy and pen like thing? Just asking, how many of you will sit with the copy and pen? How many of you sit with the copy and pen? Because I feel that ki, acha, you have noted down. Yes, definitely this is going to be available for paid student. Radhe, okay, good. Acha, you make notes after the class. Okay. Just means humble request. Maybe you are going to make notes after the class, but always have a copy and pen when you are. But the problem is, it is not going to get a feeling when we are going to watch something on YouTube. We are not, because we are the people who are trained to study, who are trained to study only in the classroom mode. We are trained since the beginning, we are trained to study in the classroom mode, right? So to get that thing ki, okay, no, it can be studied even with the mobile phone, which is most of the time used for the entertainment purpose, that can be also use for the education purpose. It's very difficult to get that thing to train your mind. I completely agree with this thing. This is quite difficult to study in the online mode. But if you want to do that, if you want to do that, just some basic conditioning is required. In psychology, we call this as a conditioning. So that conditioning is required. The classic example is Pavlovian condition. Don't try to relate both things. What Pavlov, one of the psychologists from the Russia, what he did, he observed the behavior of his dog. What he found that ki every time when food is coming, right, the saliva from his mouth start coming, right? So he started doing what? He started providing the food at particular time only, with the doorbell is going to ring, right? So at a given time, doorbell is going to ring, and then food will come, and dog starts having, so showing the saliva from his mouth. So that experiment he continued for some time, and after some point of time, what he did, he didn't bring the food, but all the other things have been occurred in the same way, right? Still dog is having saliva in his mouth. So this is called a conditioning, right? Modern day terms is the training, right? The training is there. So what I personally feel that when we are going to study in this online mode, if you will have a copy and pen kind of the thing, just casually writing few things whatever the teacher is teaching in the class, not only for my class, in general, I am just giving a suggestion. If you are going to do this thing, it is always going to have a better concentration level. Try it try it and let me know, because I have told these things to many. They told me ki yes, it is working. So it will be good, it will be good if you want the better concentration, right? And some few important things you can note also, which you can further add when you are going to make your own notes. सर क्लास के बाद नोट्स बनाने में रिवाइज भी हो जाता है. In live classes, I usually understand the things, and after the class, yes, that is a good strategy. That is a good strategy, and not saying that your strategy is wrong. I am just putting one more thing in your strategy. Even while having the normal class, means when you are watching the class first time to understand, then have a copy and pen. That is going to give you more concentration. That's it. Nothing else. So I'll share this PDF, right, of this class annotation. I'll send. And acha, sir, exactly that is why I like to attend live classes. Acha, Venkit. Okay, fine. So this is what Lawrence explained, कि there is a curve, and the shifting of curve is going to tell us कि what is the happening in the country in terms of income distribution, rising or falling of the poverty, right? So it was considered as a one of the method to estimate the poverty, right? But when it was studied further, the flaw came into the picture. The flaw in the Lorentz curve. The flaw in the Lorentz curve is showing rising or falling of the poverty only in the percentage term. Right, only in the percentage term. It is very difficult to calculate. It is very difficult to calculate the exact number. Only in the percentage terms we are able to find it out. Right, and percentage terms. Right, the percentage terms, when the population is very big, then the deviation is going to be very high. Deviation is going to be what? Very high. For example, India have 150 crore, more than 150 crore population, right? So in the percentage terms, it is about the crores of the people, right? So deviation is going to be very much, and the result is not exactly what is exact situation is there, right? So only the percentage terms is not sufficient in order to get the clearer picture. So this is why Lorentz curve have this deficit कि Lorentz curve is able to tell us कि whether it is increasing or it is decreasing, but Lorentz curve failed to provide the absolute numbers. Absolute numbers is not able to be provided by what? Lorentz curve. We need more mathematical method. This method is not a mathematical method, proper typical mathematical method. This method is kind of what? Based on observation, right? Observation based methodology. We need a kind of a concrete method which provides us what? Which provides us a kind of more concrete way of estimating the poverty or inequality, right? Income inequality in the society. That is why the another economist who worked on this Lorentz curve, and he has explained the things in terms of Gini coefficient. He has given the idea of what? Gini coefficient, and through Gini coefficient we are able to, Gini coefficient is symbolized with capital G, and with this Gini coefficient we are able to get an absolute number of what? Absolute number of the people who are under the poverty, right? Who are under the poverty. So we have to go and discuss the Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient understanding will take some time, right? And most of the people, they are okay with 1 hour class only, right? So the Gini coefficient, and uh, actually I have just want to give you the glimpse. So I have prepared this one document for you. In this document, I have mentioned the poverty line estimation in India. So this is all of the committees before independence, after independence. I have summarized all those committee reports and their highlights, right, about poverty estimation in India. So what I will do tomorrow, first, uh, I'll let you know about the Gini coefficient and how it is calculated and why it is now getting more relevance in India today. Gini coefficient was not very relevant if we will go back 20 years back. Gini coefficient was very important, but over the years the importance of Gini coefficient is rising in the Indian context also. Right. So, what is Gini coefficient? How it works? Why it is getting more and more attention in the Indian policymaker sense, right, and researchers context? I'll let you know this thing. Then I will let you know what India have did in past in order to estimate poverty, and what India is doing right now to estimate the poverty, right? Then I'll explain you what are the suggestions, right? What areas, not suggestions, what area are important in the present context in order to address the problem of poverty, right? So all these things I'll discuss in the next lecture. And after that, what work you have to do, just once this lecture is going to be over tomorrow, go to your material where they have given all the schemes of government of India to alleviate the poverty, eliminate the poverty, alleviate the poverty in India. Go through that. Go through that, because if you will go through that at that point of time, all the things, conceptual things and related current affairs schemes are going to consolidate in your mind immediately. consolidate in your mind. Maybe you are going to forget. People have fear ki maybe I'll forget, but once the things are going to be in your subconscious mind, right? If you will understand these concepts, then immediately you will read all the schemes of government of India to alleviate the poverty in India. That maybe after few days you are going to feel that ki I forgot all those things. But if they are going to be in your subconscious mind and you are going to revise at the time of exam, that subconscious mind memory will immediately come and you will going to have a quick revision and satisfactory revision. One thing. Second thing, when you are going to see the question in the exam, all those information which is in your subconscious mind will come effectively in order to give you the right information and correct answer, right? So please, a small, find out where the material is related to poverty, and if you want, even you start reading from today onwards also. Just read the poverty related material today onwards also, and finish it by tomorrow when this class is going to be over. Complete that reading so that it will be consolidated, right? Okay. So ending this session right now. Tomorrow, I'll start from here. I'll explain Gini coefficient, its increasing importance in the Indian context, what are the areas where government have to work in a more efficient manner in order to eliminate the poverty, and other policy related framework with respect to poverty in India. Right? I'll discuss the rest of the thing tomorrow. Okay? Sir, can I expect the lecture from tomorrow with just some more speed? More speed in what context, my dear? Just little bit elaborate so that I can incorporate. I have no issues. Acha, means you want more content in that given time, right? This is what you want. More content in that given time. Okay, fine, fine. I'll increase the speed. No issues. I will if you feel that ki this speed is little bit slow, I'll increase the speed. I have no issues. Everyone is satisfied ki if I'll increase the speed, everyone is okay. सर मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी एंड फिस्कल पॉलिसी का क्लास कब होगा? अच्छा, मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी एंड फिस्कल पॉलिसी. लेट दिस कंप्लीट दिस पॉवर्टी एंड अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, देन आई विल स्टार्ट मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी एंड फिस्कल पॉलिसी. Radhe Kamran, no, sir. I have left few classes and I have bought the course today itself. So if it is fine, if I continue with the sequence of lecture by you, or have to go to with the sequence advised in the course. So if it is fine, if the sequence lecture. Sequence which is advised there, na, you can go for it. First go with that. If it is not going to work, let me know. My suggestion is first go with the sequence what they suggested. Go with that sequence. If it is not working, then please let me know. I'll rectify the issue. I means I'll help you there. Don't worry. Yes, Aniket, you can start with that. If you are going to face any issue, then let me know. Okay, fine. So I'm winding up this session. I'll increase the speed tomorrow. If you are feeling uncomfortable, let me know. I'll increase the speed little bit. If you are going to feel uncomfortable, let me know. If you are comfortable, I'll maintain. I'm not going to double the speed. I know that it is not going to work. I'll increase the speed, right? If it is feel like you are not able to get the concept, you are not able to relate the things, let me know. I'll adjust it accordingly. Okay. I always believe to maintain the pace according to the students, right? I do not have a default pace. I always start little bit slow. If students request, I'll increase and decrease accordingly. Okay. Okay then. Good night to all of you. See you tomorrow.